I get a lot of people asking me where they can buy a budget Kurt Cobain guitar, especially his in utero era Mustangs. The official Fender Kurt Cobain signature Mustangs were only available for around 2 years. They've been out of production since 2014, and their prices have now unfortunately skyrocketed. Jeff over at Lomic Guitars built something that Squier should have been doing for a long time now at this point. He built a brilliant Squier Oranj-Stang, only using spare parts that were found in his shop. That's not an option for most people, but total pricing for all these parts used in this build only came out to around $300. In this video, we will break down every piece of this build. Hopefully, this will be helpful to anyone out there who's been wanting to build their own Kurt Cobain Mustang. I will also be doing a complete sound demo of both pickups, and then playing it head-to-head with my Fender Kurt Cobain signature Mustang to see how it compares to the real deal. This budget guitar is based off of Kurt Cobain's 1993 Fiesta Red Fujigen Mustang that he and his guitar techs nicknamed Oranj-Stang. I just want to put it out there before someone points it out in the comments that I'm not 100% sure if I'm saying this guitar's name right. I've never heard Kurt or any of his techs say this guitar's name, but in my head I've always read it as Oranj-Stang rather than Oranj-Stang. So I'll be pronouncing it as Oranj-Stang in this video, but you can decide for yourself which way you'd rather say it. The first time we see Kurt with this guitar is on July 23rd, 1993, at the infamous Roseland Ballroom show. There, it is mostly in its stock form, with the exception of a Seymour Duncan JB Jr. in the bridge position and Schaller strap locks. This original incarnation of this guitar has a life of its own. It's known to the fans as the Roseland Mustang. Kurt himself, though, must have not liked the red-on-red look and the JB Jr. After this show, the next time we see this guitar is on the first date of the In Utero tour, October 18th, 1993 in Phoenix, Arizona. There, we see it in its Oranj-Stang form. White perloid pickguard, full-size JB humbucker, and Goto Tuneomatic bridge. This was one of 3 Mustangs that Kurt used on the In Utero tour, and it was the second most used of the 3. This guitar is probably most well known from its use on February 4th, 1994, in France on Nirvana's last TV show appearance. It famously fails during Drain You, causing Kurt to toss it aside and let out a scream that many fans will say was his best. The last time we see this guitar in action is 20 days later, on February 24th in Italy. Let's now break down every single part of this build. As we go through each part, you'll see some pricing. Keep in mind that these are all variable. Starting with the body, Jeff used a Squier Sonic Mustang body in Torino red. It's not 100% identical to Fiesta Red. It's a tad more vibrant, but it is very comparable. It's only noticeably different when it's right next to a Fiesta Red guitar. The neck is a Squier Bullet Mustang neck. For the pickups, he kept the stock neck single coil in place, but replaced the bridge single coil with a humbucker from a Squier Bullet Mustang. It's very hot, about 15K, and will get the job done nicely. Another great option would be a Guitar Madness Hot Alico 5 humbucker. This is a generic brand pickup that is comparable to the Seymour Duncan JB. A new pickguard was needed. Jeff made a new pickguard to fit the humbucker, switches, and bridge. Lomic Guitars offers various pickguards, including some specially designed to replicate Kurt's pickguards exactly. A Squier Sonic Mustang pickguard can be purchased from Lomic for $35. He routed out room in the body for the stock Mustang switches to have in place of the original 3-way selector switch, and Jeff drilled new holes in the body to make enough room for the entire bridge assembly. The new switching system is the True Custom Shop switches. Compatible screws were used to lock down the new tailpiece. Last but not least, this Tuneomatic bridge was put in place of the stock bridge. Tuneomatics are a big identifier for Kurt's Mustangs. He apparently loved these. This all took Jeff about 2 hours total to do, and any decent guitar tech should be able to handle this. We estimate that this tech work might cost around $100 to $150 in a retail guitar shop. I want to just put out there as a quick disclaimer that Lomic Guitars doesn't sell this regularly. If you go to their shop right now on eBay, you're not going to find any Squier Mustangs on there. Jeff just happened to have enough spare parts in his shop to build this, and he asked me if I'd be interested in reviewing it, and I was like, yeah, that'd be fun, let's do it. So for my thoughts on the guitar, I think it's really cool. It plays really well and it feels really good. It seems like, unfortunately, Squier has this reputation among some guitar players for being like this cheap brand that's only for beginners and they can't make like quality instruments or parts. And that's totally false. A lot of guitar players with big egos will say that, where they're really married to like big brand names. But if you know what you're doing, you can take Squier parts and make excellent and high quality instruments, like such as this one. And the 3 Strats that are behind me, they're all Squiers. The 2 white ones have Fender necks on them, but their bodies are Squier, and my Vandalism Strat is a Squier Strat. And I love all 3 of them. I play them just as much as my Fenders. So don't let anyone tell you that a Squier can't be a high quality playable instrument. Okay, I'm getting distracted. So to go back to the Oranj-Stang, I really like it a lot overall. The color is brilliant and bright, and it's just really pretty. Just look at that. And it's got the weight that you would expect from a Mustang. Like, it's not that heavy, especially compared to my Jaguar. My Jaguar is super heavy compared to these. But holding them both like this, they feel so close to the same. If I'm trying to be picky, I'd say my Fender Mustang weighs like a little more, but they're both really light. Like, you could take this on stage, jump around and swing it around, and you're not gonna break your back. The main difference that sticks out to me while holding these two is the way that the necks feel. The Fender neck is laminated and feels really smooth, while the Squier neck is not laminated. It doesn't feel like rough or anything in comparison, it just doesn't feel laminated, but it's still very easy to play. Now let's talk about the pickups, because I'm going to be honest, I was a little skeptical to try like an off-brand JB type of pickup. I've never tried anything like that, anything that's marketed as like a generic JB, so I didn't know what to expect. And I was pleasantly surprised, and I'm not just saying that. You'll hear in the demo section when I'm playing this guitar that this pickup is really hot. It has a lot of output. And it can do the JB sound really well. It just has some more high end. And something I found that it can do that the JB doesn't, and I was really impressed with this, is that it does cleans really well. And it does crunchy cleans in particular really well. So what I mean by that, in a Nirvana context, if you set your settings just right, I think this pickup can do like the Paramount 1991 like slightly overdriven crunchy cleans that Kurt is known for. Where I cannot say the same thing at all about the JB in my Mustang. Like, if I want crunchy cleans, like, I'm not going to my SKYSTANG. I love that guitar, but that's just something that I find my other guitars can do better. But this one, like, it can do the 1993 sound, but if you give it a little more volume or a little more gain, it can also do the crunchy cleans, which is a huge plus. So going forward in the future, I'm definitely going to recommend this pickup overall. When people ask me for a budget pickup for not just like Mustangs and the Euro Tour sound, but even like the Paramount sound. And I liked the neck pickup too. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't that impressed with it. Overall, I'm not really a fan of like the Mustang neck single coil sound. Like, if I want a nice single coil neck pickup sound, I'm almost always going to my Strats. That's just not a sound that I personally like to use a lot when it comes to cleans, but I'm not saying like it's bad by any means. You'll hear in the sound demo that this neck pickup, it's thick and has a lot of mids, and it does a clean sound. You'll hear it. And this is just completely a personal preference thing. I like this because of Kurt, because I'm so used to looking at his Mustangs, but I just think a Tuneomatic bridge on a Mustang, I just think it looks so cool. I just feel like it looks like sleek and like futuristic kind of. I might sound really weird saying this, but I just like how it looks. So it's really satisfying to just look at it and see the tom on there. And the switches are good. They work as they should and they're high quality. And some people do complain about how they're too high and they hit them when they strum, and Kurt had that problem too. That's why he had his shaved down. That's something I don't really run into, so I personally don't shave them down. And I think the height that these are at, like, it doesn't bug me, but if it was something you wanted to shave down, there's definitely enough room for you to do that, if that's something you would like to do. This is just overall a really cool, like, budget Kurt Cobain guitar. And I get a lot of people asking me questions about what they should get and what parts if they want to build their own budget Kurt Cobain Mustang. And I've always felt bad because I've never really had answers for that. The only budget Kurt guitars I've built are Strat, so I have recommendations when it comes to that, but not Mustangs, but now I do. Thanks to this guy, thanks to Jeff, and for all the work he put into it and the parts that he used and all the info he shared with me. This is overall just a really nice guitar, and what's really cool is it's exposed me to a bunch of parts I just was not familiar with before. Particularly this bridge pickup, I actually really like it. So hopefully this will help anyone out there who's been on the lookout and been looking for budget parts for a Kurt Cobain Mustang. And now you're going to finally hear it. I will be playing some Nirvana riffs using my In Utero Tour tone setup. I'll be using my Sandsam Classic, Electro Harmonix Small Clone, and Electro Harmonix Polychorus through my Fender Tone Master Twin Reverb. After showing all that this guitar can do on its own, it'll go head-to-head with my Fender Kurt Cobain signature Mustang on the same settings in the same tuning. It'll be interesting to see if this affordable budget Squier Mustang can hold its own against the Fender that has been modded 100% to Kurt specs.
Good.